Hey everybody, today we are going to be exploring TreeSitter. If you don't know what TreeSitter is, I'll give a brief introduction and we'll show how to install it, start exploring what it does inside of Neovim, and a little bit of configuration aspects, but really we're going to save that for quite a bit later in the series after we have a few more features. But if you don't know what TreeSitter is, it actually has two, I would say, primary components. The first component is it has a very easy way that you can write parsers. And actually, now that I think of that, I have some on my machine here, like this, where we could look at a few. And a parser is actually just a JavaScript file. It's not actually JavaScript. It gets turned into C, as all great projects do. And what you've got here is a bunch of rules which define how you're going to describe the language. And this gets turned into a ridiculous C file that's super optimized. What's nice about this is you have one same way to define all the parsers. And what the output is, it has a few main features. The first main feature is that it has very good error recovery, which pretty much means when you're typing, if you think about normally when you're typing, this is not valid. Like this right here is not valid Lua. You can't actually put this here or here. Like this doesn't close. That's not actually a valid file. But we don't want the rest of the file to just get destroyed, right? Because we're in the middle of typing something, especially for a lot of you out there. I know most of the time you're writing the code, it's full of errors, not just syntax. And so TreeSitter comes with this idea built in that it has really good error recovery. So that's the first part. The second part that's very important for the text editing case is that TreeSitter's parsers are incremental. This is really important because as you're typing, if a bunch of the code doesn't change, we want to do our best to not actually go and reparse and redo everything down here, right? We just want to be parsing code around where we are instead of all the way down here. So those are sort of the two main features, and you get those for free if you write it in the TreeSitter sort of DSL, which is practically just JavaScript. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and we'll explore this a little bit as we get a little further, is TreeSitter allows you to write queries against that incrementally built tree to retrieve data about the current state of the AST. And that's basically like the really important parts. Oh, I did want to show, if you're wondering, does TreeSitter have a lot of languages done? Yeah, here's a list of languages that have working parsers. It's a lot, okay? So the flip side, right, of those parsers is you need to have queries. And Neovim, nvim-treesitter here, which we'll talk about this distinction in a second, has a bunch of these like queries built in for you here, where you can write something like, hey, anytime we see a return, I want to say that that thing is a keyword dot return. We'll talk about these capture groups shortly, and I think it'll make a bit more sense seeing it inside of the editor. But all that to say, this main section here, the important parts of what's happening, is that you can write these queries declaratively in this scheme format. And with the TreeSitter API, you can query against the tree very, very quickly. So those are sort of the two main things. Now let's talk about how we use TreeSitter inside of Neovim. The first part is Neovim comes by default with TreeSitter. Now you might say, then why are we installing a plugin, TJ? Well, that's I'm going to get there. Okay. So you can confirm this to yourself by typing, vim.treesitter.something, and you'll see you get a bunch of these, right? Or we can check vim.treesitter here and see that there are already a bunch of functions inside of here. That's because Neovim has sort of the engine, the TreeSitter engine, and like all of the stuff for built like loading parsers and working with them and connecting them with the text in the buffer and all that sort of stuff. That's all built in to Neovim. But what we don't have inside of Neovim, sort of the core distribution, is that incredible list, if we go back to here, of like an insane amount of constantly updating and changing parsers and queries. So nvim-treesitter is primarily, although it does have a few other sort of, I would say, more experimental features, it's primarily a way to get you the right parser, right? So you can download and install it and match that with the right queries, okay? So you could technically do a bunch of this without the plugin. There's no magic for the nvim-treesitter plugin, right? It's in user space. It's not built in any different way. But this really simplifies a lot of the work and makes it quite easy for you to get those downloaded and installed. So speaking of that, let's do that, and then we'll play just a little bit with what's going on with treesitter. Like I said, later we'll get some more of the crazier ideas. So first things first, we need to install it. If you go to nvim-treesitter right here, you'll see that it says, hey, here's how I install it. Yep, you need to have nightly. That's good. And we can go to the installation page. On the installation page for us, it has a lazy nvim entry. So what we're going to do, oh, and I didn't do this last time. Let's put vim.op.clipboard equals unnamed plus. This is what I do. I know some people don't like this option, but I like this option. And remember, we can press space X to execute this line. So now when I press P, I actually paste what's in my clipboard buffer. I'm a fan of that. Some people don't like that, but I like it. We'll talk about some more with clipboard later. Anyways, we need to, just like we did last time, in our config folder, so that's home.config/nvim, right? We need to make a new config plugins here. Right now we have mini, and now we're going to make a treesitter. Whoops, treesitter.lua right here. And we're going to return exactly what we had here. And we can move this like this and like that. So the thing that we haven't talked about here is we're using a build keyword here. This build function, or a configuration item, if you will, tells Lazy that whenever we update this plugin, what I want you to do is call treesitter update command. This makes sure that when we get new queries downloaded, we rebuild any new parsers to make sure that they match together. So that's kind of the main thing that's going on there. After that, we're going to continue with the same ideas that we've had before, which is we're going to use config like this. And they give us an example config right here, which does most of the work. We'll copy the, make sure we get the most up-to-date version here. Boink, like this. And we'll put this inside of our config. I'll just zoom out just a touch, set no wrap, and we'll indent those. So first things first here, this is a list of parsers, and these ones should always be installed. We have Lua here. That's the only one. If you want to add other ones, you know, you can just write TypeScript or whatever. You really don't need to. Don't have TypeScript, obviously. We don't need this configuration option. I don't usually set auto install because I don't really like it. I'd rather just write down the ones that I want. So I'm going to set this to false. You can set this to true for yourself if you like. Ignore install JavaScript. I wish, but that's usually not how it goes. You can get a custom directory. We're not going to do that. And here's where the first application of treesitter that we're going to explore, and the last thing we'll talk about in this video, is highlighting. So highlighting is one of the obvious applications of, if you have a syntax tree and you can query information from it, you can get nice highlighting information, right? I can find all of the variables and all of the functions and all of the strings. And with that info, we can really easily highlight the file in a really high fidelity way. The old Vim way is just regexes all the way down. All the way down. So this way works quite nice. There's a few different ways you can disable it. You can do a list of ones. I personally don't do that, but I do think this one is a little bit nice, which just says, if you load a really big file, I actually don't care. Just don't turn treesitter on for this. We don't need that at all. Some languages you might need this, so I just leave it for true. I don't know that. Well, I think it's pretty much just Ruby. If you're using Ruby, maybe PHP, you want those. That's fine. Okay, so now that we've done this, we can quit Neovim and we can open it again, and you'll see, hey, it installs treesitter. And then now down here it says, hey, we're installing these and we're building them. Awesome. We built all of them. We're good. And now we have a little bit different highlighting here. And so we can check if treesitter's working first by doing just like we did last time, treesitter, and it'll say, hey, yep, this is good. We've got all the right requirements, blah, 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 what OS we're on. And hey, look at this. All of these features for all of these languages, they're all working. That's great. We're in Lua right now, so that's very cool. So far, all we've done is turn on highlighting. We'll talk about the other ones in subsequent videos. So what are we going to do? I want to show you two quick things. The first one is you can use a little function called inspect, and that will tell you all of the currently applied highlights to where your cursor is. So it says, hey, we have variable Lua, that links to variable. We have function call.lua, that links to function. And we have function.builtin.lua, and that links to special. If we go back to here and we go to like queries, Lua highlights, right? We should see something like function.builtin. Aha, right here. And you'll see print right here. So let's just unpack this just a touch. I know some of you are scared. The parentheses aren't in the spot that you're used to. Too bad. It's fine. What is this saying? It says, hey, we have a function call. How could we know if we have a function call? We can use the beautiful inspect tree. I got to zoom out just a touch to give ourselves a little bit more room here. Sorry if you're on mobile. It might be a little tougher to read. But hey, here is the tree. And if you look right here, we've got a function call. And it says the name is this identifier. And sure enough, here's require. And if we're looking here, here's print. When we go back to these, you'll see print and require alphabetical. Here we go, somewhere in here, right there. Nice. So what this says is, hey, when we have a function call, we can sort of save or capture this identifier in the @function.builtin node, or capture group, really is what I should say. And then if it's any of this function built-in is any of these, then this will match. If it matches, Neovim's going to apply a highlight with this name, function.builtin, right? So when we go back to here, we typed inspect, we see function.builtin, and Neovim adds one little extra thing so that if you wanted to configure highlights just for Lua, you get this .lua at the end. So what can we do with this? Well, we can do something like this. Highlight, if we said @function.builtin, we could say GUI foreground equals, I think pink is probably going to work. Nice. Boom. If you wanted that to be inside of your command always, you could just do this. vim.command highlight. What did I just type? @function.builtin.lua GUI foreground equals, this time let's do yellow. Okay. If we source this line, it'll change the colors. Okay, that's how easy it is to change the colors. This would only change built-ins for just Lua. If we wanted to do this, we'd do that instead. Now it would change it for all the different all the different things. You'd want to put this after you load and require your color scheme. Otherwise, it'll get overwritten. You could do a few options for that. That's for a different day. But this is what this gives us here, right? So that's pretty cool. I think that part's pretty interesting. And what's also really cool is if we go back to this window here and we press O, we actually get the query editor. And the query editor lets us write test queries. So we could do something like this, function call. We could say @fn, something like this, right? Now look at this. It matches all the places that we call a function. So if you start exploring more, you start thinking about this, maybe your programmer brain's turning on here, thinking, oh, cool, I could actually like script myself doing this. Yes, that's what we're going to do later in the series, is we'll play around with this a little bit more. But this shows you sort of the power of what's going on inside of Neovim. And I just think it's really cool. TreeSitter is really powerful. Hopefully this explains a little bit more what's going on with TreeSitter. I have some longer videos. I'll link in the description if you're interested. But anyways, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow for Advent of Neovim. Again, bye-bye, everybody. Oh, I should just keep plugging. I have a course on boot dev, memory management. Promo code TEEJ, right? If you want 25% off. And then also, I'm working on a course for Lua for that, which is pretty exciting. So, okay, bye, everybody.